Welcome in, everybody. It's another episode of the DNVR Rapids podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Carroll, a.k.a. Mitchell, a.k.a. I never want to look at another t-shirt again after that Philly shipping. Woo, buddy. That was a lot of t-shirts.
Dude, I got some news for you. I'm wearing one right now.
Let's go. Wearing that Philly shirt. Joining us as always, Super Yahir.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. Hi, and I'll let you pass it on to the next fella.
Great. Also joining us, it's downtown Duane Brown.
Same. Hi. Let's get to our awesome guest for today.
That's enough out of you two. Back on the program for the third time, something like that.
I can't count
It
that
is
high.
friend of the show, Rapids 2 GM, first team radio analyst, longest tenured Rapids employee. What else can I throw at you? It is Brian Crookham.
Rapids legend.
I'll just say hi too, and we'll go back to Yahir.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
You're here. You're
That
back.
was easy. Yeah, I'm done.
Love it. Huge win for R2 on Sunday, a 1-0 win over visiting San Jose 2, Quakes 2. I forget what they all call themselves. It's all a
I
little
think it's
different.
Earthquakes too, right? Like
2-2.
yeah.
And Q2. That sounds even fancier.
I thought that's where Austin played,
Oh, that is weird.
or is that where?
We'll keep
Tennessee
it.
was?
We don't want to confuse Yahir.
Yes,
let's
I
just
am.
keep
I'm
it
already.
separate.
We got to really dumb it down today.
Yeah, I already think we're in the Premier League.
I wasn't going to
honestly.
say dumb it down. Come on.
When is Messi playing?
What's the point? Darren Yappy, a full sprint left foot from outside the box is the winner in the 84th minute. 1-0 advance to the conference finals against Austin. 2.
Yeah,
Uh,
and Q2.
no,
No, it's
at the Richard.
Yeah,
But all that put together, initial gut reaction to that win, to that goal. I'm sure the team was going crazy in the locker room. What was the immediate aftermath of that?
Well, I think number one, it was just joy because now this is the first time this group has been the bearer of the pressure, right? And we just talked off air about how when the red card came early, that shifts everything onto us. And
Right, third minute.
now there's a pressure that you have to go win this game. You know they're going to be tough to break down, and I think the approach to the game was great. The patience that the group showed, and not just getting into some type of athletic contest that wouldn't have maybe suited us very well, and given our putting ourselves in situations where we could be hurt. You know, the team was patient. The breakthrough came, and I don't know how many times I've watched that celebration, and
It was awesome.
every single player, the relief, I'm really glad there wasn't a camera on me in the box, and the relief and the celebration that comes with that, because look, this team has been unbelievable over 28 games, and that is an accomplishment all on its own. But when you get to knockout games, things can happen. And so, you know, the belief that this team has in each other, the camaraderie they have, and their ability to celebrate with each other, and the feeling they get when they lift each other up, and when somebody becomes the hero, because it's always somebody different. It seems like, well, not always, but there
There are some heroes on
there
this
are
team for
certainly
sure.
some heroes that have stepped up in multiple ways, and you know, especially for Yaps, because he hasn't had the year that he's wanted to have, especially at the first team level. For him to so confidently take, you know, Seb steps up and makes an excellent interception and a first pass that goes to Yosuke, who's on the half turn and immediately attacks space that opens up space. Yappy peels off shoulder of the defender, and then the ball is perfectly put into his stride where he can take that first touch and absolutely confidently smashes it home.
Class.
It wasn't even like, that cultured. It was the ball's going in the net here, and that was the group. The celebration comes. So to answer your question, in the locker room, there was such, I think, pride in the group that they had overcome challenge number one. Challenge number two comes this weekend with Austin, and I think it pretty quickly turned to the mission. They celebrate each other. They do a hell of a job of doing that and recognizing and understanding how each one of them contributes. But in the end, there's still stuff to go try to accomplish here, and I don't think the mission was lost in the joy of getting over the top on Sunday night.
Interesting wrinkle to the playoffs for Next Pro is you guys choose your opponent as the top seed. Anything you would want to go into that process with us, and kind of, was it just pick the lowest seed because you're the highest seed, or was it any deeper than that?
Right before you answer, me and Mitch actually had this conversation before you guys got to choose. I said you guys should go with the highest seed, which I think was Austin, right?
Yes.
Or like the number 2 seed.
Yeah, it didn't really work out that well for Kansas City, did it?
Yeah, no, I personally thought it would, because I thought that's how good I think the Rapids too is. I'm like, get the hardest team out of the way, and then just continue.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. There are things like that when you know you're going to have a full group, when you know the first team's healthy, when you know, like that does play into it. Like the entire process was all encompassing. So I would say a couple of weeks ago, we started putting sheets on the wall in the coach's office with the potential opponents. Mm-hmm. Then it came down to first round of the playoffs. They take 7 in the playoffs. 6 teams were on the wall. Pulled all the reports on the teams, went through not only our matchups with them, because the rosters vary so widely with Next Pro, because players getting called up or called into international duty or whatever that is. And so the process over a couple of weeks started to narrow itself. And, when we got to this, and I told this story the other day, but when we got to the final grouping going into Sunday night to find out who we were going to play, the 5 teams that were still left, because Kansas City had been eliminated, had all taken points from us at home. So, which you might not think about when we won the West by 9 points.
Right.
All of those guys had taken points from us at home. And so it was, there was a lot that went into it. In the end, we're always publicly going to say we're just taking the lower seed. We don't need to give any fodder there. But the reality is, we felt like we found some matchups that we liked in that. It validated the choice. And then if there was any, if there was any give or take in it, you just take what the season's told you might be the better opponent on the day.
And we were kind of getting into this, before we went live here, but you're planning 11 on 11, right? Like everything you thought about, everything you, in terms of picking an opponent, choosing an opponent. In the 3rd minute, they get a red card on a goal scoring opportunity on Remy just outside the box. And so now you're playing a fully parked bus, 10-man group, 10 men behind the ball. You don't plan for that. That's not in the who we choose plan.
It's not, though. I'm glad you brought that up, because the reality is, so we had the week off. Mm-hmm. We had the weekend where we didn't play a game, got the bye in the first round. And the first thing Eric did, literally the night that we had clinched the top seed, was create a board of all the topics that needed to be covered in those 2 weeks. It's things that we needed to either go back and review, hadn't quite done enough of, and it could be penalties under pressure, or it could be man up, man down, game management situations. All of that gets covered. And these guys have not missed a detail in the preparation. So to say you don't plan on that, well, actually, that's should plan on that, right? You should say
be thinking about it. Yeah.
Now, you don't plan on it maybe happening in the 2nd minute of the match, and that does play into how patient you can be, how patient you should be, what things will hurt you then when you're a man up and when a team is so compact and when you feel like you're on top of the game and you've had the ball for so long, you can fall asleep on your shape behind the ball. You can kind of go to sleep on, maybe that guy, if it's the 20 that was wide, that can break and, hurt you on the counter, making sure you got people that are aware of those types of things. But, I think the staff have done an unbelievable job of covering their bases on what they can cover, extremely aware of details, and, just again, really thankful for the work that they've done and the way the players have received that information.
in kind of getting into that staff, what has the message been from the staff to the players that has them playing at such a high level, especially after having a bad season last year in level 2? What has the staff done to really like bring the players up to par and have them be the best team in the league?
Well, let me tell you. Let me wind all the way back to the Minnesota game away last year. I think we got beat 4-1. We were really low. The first 2 months of the season in 22 were difficult, and we had just talked post game about just hanging on the process. Porg Smith called me, standing outside the locker room, and he said, "You guys are doing the right thing. Walk up to Eric, tell him that I've called, that we're all in this together, and that it's a process." And literally, I think every day we've approached this as a process of getting better. And that showed last year in the way the team finished the year, because from June onward, we were a top 4 team. But the first couple months were
That's what I remember. It was just like a tough
fun.
slog to start.
We dug such a big hole, and look, the Rapids fans can remember 2019 when we did the same thing with the first team, where we were unbelievable toward the end, but we just had dug just a big enough hole that we couldn't get over the top there, and so this becomes a process. So when you ask about what the message is to the players, when you have such a turnover in the locker room day to day, you may not know that the big star or the last guy on the roster is even going to be in the locker room, because they might be in a different training situation. There might be a need from the first team. There might be an opportunity to play a guy in the academy that hasn't had minutes, whatever that is. So it just becomes about every individual being bought into the process right now. And then you look around the room, you go, well, this is the group that we're going to do it with today. And then you walk out and you do it with that group. And, I think that's been the mentality every single day. And there have been times, we're going to play an Austin team this weekend who were up 3-0 on us at home in our building, in the middle of the season. And, somehow everybody just said, well, that's not good enough. And, we come back, get the 3 goals, and then get the penalty win. And
beat them on the road too. Right at the end of the season,
we're sure as hell hoping they don't decide that that's a good method of success this weekend. But
is that the technical message that's not good enough?
Absolutely,
because it worked.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's days when it's not right. Even with maybe especially with high performing teams, there are days when that honesty and that whether that's with the staff, whether that's with the players or a certain group of players or a certain player individually, the expectations are so high right now that it's okay to go in and say, Mitch, today that wasn't good enough. That's not what's going to get us there. Awesome. But there's also an understanding from the receiver of the message that we're all in this for one thing, and that's to achieve as much as we can as a group that will showcase the individuals, that will get the individuals to their goals. So kind of the collective success of this group is helping the individuals, showcase themselves and get to where they need to be as well. So it's an environment that is churning right now and getting the best out of everybody, if you ask me.
So kind of with that, you got to also show the individuals, because you want them to get a first team contract, whether it be with the Rapids, hopefully, or any other team, and kind of improve. How hard is that balance between you and Eric to see development and winning at the same time?
It's talked about pretty consistently, but I think that we've clearly stated that winning is a part of development. To the extent that you have the talent in the room. So
right.
The expectation on Eric is to do the best he can. Number one, to squeeze everything out of every individual in there. And if we have a really talented group and you squeeze the best out of every individual, then the expectation can be you're going to win on Sunday night too, right? And then, if we have a group and early last year, we matched up with teams that we weren't as talented as those groups. So it becomes getting the best out of every one of those guys, seeing if we can get the best performance out of it, and see what the result becomes from there, because we may not be the best team. What I would never say is we'll never teach anybody that it's okay to lose, right? We're always going to work toward being better the next time we step on, and losing is part of it. How we react to losing is part of it, and the developmental opportunity that comes with that. But we also believe that if we want a culture that's going to help our first team, not only from an individual player standpoint, but from a club standpoint, then winning needs to be part of that culture. We're going to go through cycles. That's the nature of this. We are going to have years in the second team where we've got a greener crop, less season, haven't been through the process, and we're going to take our lumps because that's where it is. But we will always ride that into something positive in the end.
Now, obviously, everyone needs development. I'm not trying to say that, but when you have guys like Ollie, Seb, Yappy, a lot of first team experience, have been around. They're not necessarily. You're not necessarily calling them prospects as much as established players. Have they helped build that environment that you spoke of, where it's like having those guys with the experience that can fluctuate between first team and second team, have played on the biggest stage in the MLS?
100% it helps. But if we don't do a good job of giving them something to attach to with the core of Rapids 2 players, then it's difficult for them to come in and lead a group that doesn't have,
So it's leadership then with those guys.
I think it should be.
Right.
But you got to remember, those guys are still trying to figure out how they're going to break in to the next level. So while they may be more, let's say, accomplished, but they're more experienced than some of the guys in the locker room that they come into with the second team, they're still on their journey as well. And I think one of the things that we really believe as a club is that every player that comes into our club, whether it's at the first team level, the second team level, the academy, they all have a lot of room to grow. And even established pros, guys that are playing 100 games in the league, we can help them continue to rise. And maybe them rising means they're a long-term a player that's going to, like Keegan, who's going to play a massive amount of games and start every week and everything else. Or maybe it's an Austin Trusty that's going to come in, get their confidence, get some details right, and get an opportunity to go where the sky's the limit. And I think if we take that approach, that we can, as a club, better everybody. That if it's possible to try to get a career year out of everybody every year, if that's our goal, then we're going to be pretty successful.
Yeah. And career years across the board for a lot of guys. When you look at just the Next Pro stats site, it is Rapids.
Pretty burgundy at the top of that, isn't it?
Remy Cabral led the league in goals. Vargas led the league in assists. Hanya second. Ollie tied for third. Ollie with the most key passes. Offensively dominant year. And coincidentally, you're going up against the clean sheet leader in the league next weekend in Austin. Sort of unstoppable force meets immovable object sort of situation there.
It is. I think Austin maybe gave up 20 goals in the regular season. You got your computer in front of me. You're going to call.
I can check it out.
Nah, don't worry about that.
Sure.
What trust, Crookham?
85% of stats are just made up, right?
Totally.
We faced that group where I think at one stage they had given up 20 goals and we had scored 5 of the 20 against them. We believe that we can, in certain situations, be a problem for them. We know, because we've experienced it, that they can be a massive problem for us. So yes, and on a good day, and Damian made an unbelievable save at the end of the Tacoma match the other night to keep them in it and to secure the win for them in stoppage time. The kid will stand on his head. We know that, and we expect that he will be in a situation this weekend where he'll be laser focused. Their GM or their one of their staff members told me after the match down there that they just hope they get to play us one more time.
Sure. Mission accomplished for them.
Mission accomplished for them, and they've taken a really hard path to do it. They won at a good Kansas City team. They won at a very good Tacoma team, and now they're going to come into our building believing that whatever's happened in the regular season is gone. That they're going to be the better team on the night, and it's going to be a challenge for us.
It's really weird because Austin and Colorado have very similar situations. First team not performing, a lot of flux in how everything's being handled right now. But then you get to their second teams, and their second teams are playing really well. Is there any kind of talk between both organizations of kind of what you guys are doing, or is it like very separate and kind of just?
Well, I think we have good relationships with different clubs. And, in speaking to the guys down there, and they've actually had a change this week that Sean Rubio's gone to Toronto, but I had a couple conversations with Sean, and I think that sometimes this can be a reflection of maybe the overall health of the way teams are doing things that hasn't quite, or it is not manifesting itself at the top level yet. And commitment to the process, commitment to the values of the club, and as you see that out, we all of a sudden get into a situation where over the next couple of years, we think that'll be really obvious that the work that's been done behind the scenes kind of comes out front. And I think there are clubs all over that are saying we're really focused on the future, and the future being a big part of that control of your future can be with the second team, the academy, and that type of thing.
I want to dig in more to those stats we were just bringing up about how successful some of these guys have been. But first, we have to get to some ad reads. Conveniently, we have Crookham on. Do you know what our ad read is today, fellas?
Oh, I know.
It's Colorado Rapids 2. Colorado Rapids 2.
Good job with our guys getting that stuck in there.
To the MLS Next Pro Western Conference Finals versus Austin FC 2. Kickoff is at 7:30 p.m. on October 15th at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. Rapids 2 defeated Austin FC 2 in all three of their regular season matchups. If they win this match, they advance to the MLS Next Pro Championship game on October 22nd, which will also be at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. Head on over to am.ticketmaster.com/KSE/Rapids2 to get your tickets today. Say that 5 times fast. Jeez. am.ticketmaster.com/KSE/Rapids2. And you will get your tickets today.
That's at the Richard, right?
That is at the Richard.
North boundary is dope. Say
Yep.
what you want. It's a really fun time.
Oh, yeah.
Be there.
Also,
Be there, yeah,
Fan
North,
Appreciation
honestly.
Night's coming up 10/21 against Fake Salt Lake. If you go to coloradorapids.com/DNVR, you can get $5 off your ticket. So go ahead. Check that out. Only so many games left in the season, unfortunately. A sad time. So get in while you can. One last game at home for the senior team. Hopefully a couple more games at home.
2 more games
For 2.
for Rapids 2.
Correct. 3 total.
3 games left.
That's it.
And
That's it.
1 championship.
So make sure you get on that. We are also brought to you by, of course, always Illegal Pete's. And not just Illegal Pete's. Illegal Pete's Queso Pen.
Crookham is over there giggling. He's like,
I just know that Yahya has like this little gift certificate that he goes in, and he's like the VIP in there.
oh, dude, I just walk straight to the kitchen.
Yeah.
He
just whips up his own queso. in the
Yeah, I'm
bag.
like, I got you guys. Don't worry. Like,
Puts his hand in the food. Just
Yeah.
eats it.
I don't doubt that one
pretty
bit.
weird.
It's
Hand
way
over the
easier.
glass.
It's pretty
Don't do
weird.
it.
unless you're Yahya.
Don't do it. The
Unless
Illegal
you're
Pete's
Yahya.
Queso Pen is available in select Denver area dispensaries from September 20th through October 31st. Illegal Pete's and O-Pen are both old school Denver brands and have been connected for over 10 years. They finally got the opportunity to officially partner on this killer cartridge. The original plan was to create an infused queso edible. There's still some science to figure out on the recipe, so this was the next best option. Hopefully an infused queso is still in the works. It pairs well with real Illegal Pete's queso. And customers who purchase one of the cartridges can bring the box into any Illegal Pete's location and redeem it for a free small chips and queso. Queso on queso, quesoception. Pretty awesome. Shout out to the homies at Illegal Pete's, 28 years in business. Bang.
What are you laughing at?
Crookham is just like,
Yeah,
what is
I
this?
was. The last time I had a cartridge, I stuck it into my dashboard and it played like Brian Adams songs.
Whoa.
So I mean, that's it.
Yeah, there's a little bit. You don't really stick this in a car, honestly.
Gotcha.
This type of
You
Alright.
can charge
cartridge.
it in your car.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
I'm so confused
It's
right
more.
now.
It's
Sorry.
more 21 and above.
21 plus.
recreational, Yeah.
Consume
kinda.
responsibly.
No drink and drive. Or-
Don't queso and drive.
Perfect.
Duane?
I'm still laughing. Is it time?
It's time.
You know what time it is.
You know what time it is, baby.
It's time for Mitch's Pete's Tip of the Week.
Don't stick your hand over the glass. They know where everything is because they work there. You don't have to point at anything. They know where the chicken is.
Do people do that?
They,
I know you worked there for a long time.
my God.
Everyone.
Everyone.
I've never seen anyone do
I've
that.
seen fingers come like below the rim of the pan.
Like they'll reach
over the glass to point at something.
See, I don't do that. I just knock on the window. I'm like, give me my cheese.
It is insane what people think is okay to do. It blows my mind. Wow. So my tip of the week is keep your grubby little paws on the other side of the glass.
That's just a life tip. Like,
yeah.
don't do that.
Left you
Don't
can
do
see.
that.
Don't do that at Pete's or
Don't do it
or
anywhere.
really anywhere. That's weird.
Yeah. Or maybe do it at Illegal Pete's rivals to mess with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe
That's not
don't
my
do
tip. That the tip ended before that. That's just talking.
Yeah, Mitch just sounds like he wants to bring everybody down with chaos.
Bringing everybody down with chaos. All right, shout out to Illegal
even
Pete's.
the workers that have nothing to do with it.
Shout out to the homies at Illegal Pete's. They ate their lunch yesterday. Okay, here we go. All right. We talked about some career seasons. You have Remy Cabral, led the league in goals, 19 goals.
I've heard of him.
Pretty awesome. You have Marlon Vargas, who led the league in assists. You have Hanya in second, and you have Ollie in third. What was it that, and I mean, this is obviously not a one sentence answer. It's not even one paragraph answer, but last year was a tough season. Now, granted, from June on, it was a good chunk of the season, but it was a tough year. And then all of a sudden this year, unstoppable offense. Was there any one addition to the lineup? Was it a coaching staff? Was it an offseason light bulb goes off in your head that something clicked? What was it that really generated this offensive kind of revolution?
Well, the players that you talked about were either not able to be productive last year, and then Ollie LaRosse, who was hurt, or didn't play for us last
Remy.
year.
Yeah.
Like Remy and Marlon. And, so those guys, clearly the addition of that type of talent to the group has taken us over the top there. The platform that they have behind them has been excellent, so they can express themselves on the attacking side of the field without the fear of calamity behind them. Sure. And I think that, it gives them comfort. It gives our coaching staff the ability to think about how we want to look in the final third, how we can be entertaining in the final third without giving up too much the other direction. There's always a give and take there, and there's always a level of exposure there. But to get into situations where you can let creative players go play with a shape behind the ball and an awareness behind the ball that will allow you to survive when you do turn the ball over. This is, and we talk about this all the time, even at the first team level. This is a very transitional league, and we've been good in the second team on capitalizing on transitional moments without sacrificing the structure that would maybe allow you to be punished on the other side in transitional moments. So, I think it's an infusion of talent. It's an evolution of, I guess the awareness of the group and a great job by the coaching staff of organizing a group, because, there were times throughout the season where all the players that you mentioned were not available. Right. They were either in with the first team. A lot of different things came up where we had availability issues, and it didn't really slow the group down. So I think wouldn't say it's plug and play, but I would definitely say that again, people are bought into the process. I think the information that's available to players to get them on the same page, no matter how much time they've spent with the group during the week, has been great. And again, full credit to the coaching staff for ensuring that talented players get to go play.
When you look at those guys, Vargas, Cabral, Hanya, Larraz, they only had about, this was quick math, 72 minutes with the first team total between all of them. Is that part of your guys' kind of mantra with this team and being so successful that let's have them focus in on getting all the minutes they can in these leadership roles they can versus sort of just being on the bench, getting spot sub starts here and there with the first team?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that. So yes, number one is the real opportunity, because if we leave players out of the second team and playing 90 minutes in a really competitive match, say at Tacoma, on the road, in a difficult environment, or you can stay home and you can be on the bench with the first team, get a warm-up in, and then go do sprints after the game with them, and then you can maybe sign some autographs on the way out. What was a better experience for the player from a developmental standpoint,
Right.
And in the end, it's still the first team coach's job to win the matches every weekend. So you're always, or most of the time, the first team coach is going to say, well, I've got a 28-year-old veteran on the bench, or a 19-year-old that's starting to bud. What am I going to trust when the game? Ultimately, my job's on the line. You're probably gonna lean to that. So sometimes it's hard to get them a ton of minutes in there. I think the confidence the first team staff had, even early in the season when we went through the Open Cup type time frames where we had a lot of the call-ups that came in with some injuries in the first team, and we're able to, we are limited on the number of times those guys can get called up as well. So it's a weekly math equation for us in some sense that everybody's involved in: the first team staff, second team staff, the academy staff, our front office. We meet every week to deal with that, try to map it out the best we can, and then you go train one time. Somebody gets hurt, somebody gets called up, something changes, and you reevaluate and you go again. So. Those guys haven't seen a ton of first-team minutes, but they have been recognized. They are trusted by those guys. They've been into training, and, I think everybody's quite aware of the talent that's in the group.
So kind of looking at that, now you kind of see what the coaching staff and office kind of thinking as a player, especially like a player like Yahir Ross, who was kind of touted to take that next step into the first team. Had an unfortunate injury and wasn't able to really take that next step. What was his mentality and Hanya's mentality kind of going through this year and getting so little spot minutes compared to what they expected?
I think, if you look at somebody like Ollie, first and foremost, his goal was to get back, get healthy, and be consistent. And he didn't start the year just on fire. Yeah. He had been out for so long, coming back at the end of last year and becoming, getting back to some level of health. Then it becomes fitness. Then it becomes sharpness. Then it becomes you're a contributor and a leader in the group, right? So, from a process standpoint, I cannot say enough about Ollie's mentality in coming back from the injury. His want and his recognition of the need to have a really consistent environment for him to perform in, knowing that he had missed a lot of time in a key, I would say, moment in his career. The way he has approached this year is off the charts and is probably a blueprint for guys that have gone through something that like he's gone through. So that's the mentality part of it. The guys like Yosuke, they're very aware that they're internationals and that there are limits on international spots and that those things play into it. And so I think I think we've done a pretty good job of communicating kind of where guys stand, what what the needs we feel like they need to work on in their development, what the opportunities are and maybe aren't sometimes, and what their pathway needs to be if they want to achieve, something greater. And I think they've all taken that information on board really well. And, again, I think just culturally, the understanding of what these guys are here for, what staff is here for, and what the end goals are. I'm just really happy where the group is.
So then you have guys kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum that have played quite a few minutes with the first team, or at least a lot of appearances on the team sheet. Yappy had, I think, 900 MLS minutes this season, something like that. Seb's been, Seb just had a full 90, has been on the first team sheet a lot of times. Has it been tough for them to go from a very difficult season with the first team, losing some tough losses, turnover with the coaching staff and players, to then come down to such a successful, what's that yo-yo like for them?
Well, that's a great question for them, I guess, individually. Sure. But, their approach, again, every one of them, nobody's walked into the second team locker room like, oh, my God, I got to be here.
Right.
Which is really, really possible. To send a guy where even if it's the best thing for you, sometimes that's not that easy. And those guys, they've embraced the opportunity they have with the second team. So, I don't know how there's certainly an excitement to be involved because you're that close and you're literally an injury. You're a play away. If you made the first team bench, you're a play away from that opportunity and the spotlight being able to come onto you. So you can't minimize, what that feels like to a player. Even in a difficult season, mm-hmm. you feel like you might be the guy that could turn that for you, for the team. Because, man, if I just got my chance, I could just show what it is. So there's always going to be an excitement for a player kind of that lives in that space to be involved at the first team level. But again, I think the impressive thing is the way every one of these guys has approached the time that they've spent in the second team locker room and seeing that as a tool for their development, a tool for the way they are going to be successful in their career versus, a punishment or something. They've all been unbelievably good about it, and it's shown in their performances, and I think it's shown in their career progression to this point.
That's awesome to hear.
I'm gonna dig a little deeper into Rapids 2 and go a little bit into the academy. There's two players I kind of want to highlight that Bodri has had a great season for Rapids 2, and then you also have Andre Romo, who has an MLS Next, was called an All-Star, is getting a lot of buzz as a U17, even played up to the U23. What can you tell me about those two guys that makes them so special and being talked about so much around the league?
Well, Adam's one of the best keepers in the country.
He's awesome.
That's so what good. Makes him special. He has got a physical profile that is excellent. His instincts are exceptional. He is a good shot stopper. He's a guy that can control the box. He can everything that he does. He's got a baseline as a goalkeeper that's very good. And quite frankly, number one, he's got the best goalkeeper coach in the country as well, and Chris Sharp. And Sharpie's proven that with every single goalkeeper we've had to get the most out of all of them. He's a kid that came to us after a successful stint in Real Colorado when he came in, and he got the opportunity then almost immediately to come in with the second team and stretch his development in that direction. And he's taking advantage of every piece of it. The biggest thing about Adam is that he is so receptive, and some guys get hard on themselves in tough moments. He is so receptive to the feedback he's got a feedback loop in his head that a mistake is an opportunity, which he corrects and he moves on and he just gets better every single day. And look, we've been able to rely on a 16/17-year-old all season in Rapids 2, excuse me, in competitive matches that matter, in front of people, under pressure, and he's been great. Been great, you know. And then we do have guys in the pipeline that are coming up that maybe for physical reasons, there's a pretty big jump athletically. So guys like Romo have proven themselves at one level. They're now coming in, spending a ton of time with the second team, and much like Adam, there's a period where they start to get used to the level, the pace of it, the physicality of it, and start to level themselves within that, and then make that next jump. And obviously, we've got a really talented midfield right now in the second team, and you know we're proud.
Smile when he said that.
He's like, we got a midfield, baby.
Yeah.
Listen, this is the reality: is that in April, May, June of last year, it was too damn easy for the academy guys to get minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
It was too easy.
You don't want it to be.
They
that
were
easy for
they
them.
were really
You want it
talented.
to be tough, yeah.
Really talented, but it was too easy.
Right.
We we looked at coming into the season. We were saying, well, we probably need about 45% of the minutes to be chewed up by second team guys, maybe 35% of the minutes to be chewed up by first team guys, and then another 20% or so to be chewed up by the academy guys. And we were skewed way wrong early last year with the academy guys heavy on the minutes because it wasn't hard for them to earn minutes in there. And now, like literally, we're almost exactly where we said we wanted to be when you look at and we monitor that every week. We know exactly where we are in minutes played. You know, if we're at 28,000 minutes right now over that, we can tell you, you know, we're in the 14,000, 10,000 range with guys. We know exactly how who's played what and all of that. And, you know, we're pretty happy with that mix. So I don't know. I've gone way over the top on your question, but
No, I love it. I mean, I love academy talk.
That's what we tried to.
Yeah.
That's what we were going for there.
But then so now you take that back one step further, and now we'll look at a guy like Romo, and we're going to say, well, in 2024, you need to earn. You're not going to be given, but you need to earn a certain number of minutes at second team level, if you are on the progression that we want you to be on. And so those things become the same thing with Adam this year. You know, we wanted him to start at least 5 second team games. Well, he's blown that out of the water, hasn't he? You know, and some of that's opportunity too.
Yeah.
You know, with
Injury.
Abe got hurt at one stage.
Yarby.
Will's hurt. You know, and so you have to be. And you go all the way back to somebody like Vinesy a few years back, where as an 18, 19-year-old, he was out in Charlotte, kind of on loan and on an island, and you know, left back gets hurt first game of the year, and all of a sudden he goes in, plays left back at Charlotte Independence all year long, and he's back in the first team the next year. Some of it is when the opportunity comes, are you ready to seize that opportunity? So you know, we've got targets, but you got to be ready when the opportunity comes.
We have a great question from Brendan Plone, our homie over at the Denver Post. We will get to that.
I've heard of him too.
Yeah, you've talked to him. We'll get to that in a second, and it'll kind of kick off our third segment, talking to sort of first team, anything we left on the board with R2 stuff, and just kind of wrap up the show through there. But first, we have to talk about our friends at Broken Tee. We were talking good vibes in R2. There are good vibes on the golf course at Broken Tee, the coolest golf course in town. Award-winning practice facility. 27 total holes. You can play 18, then hop on the par 3 if you're still feeling it. Or maybe if you need to get back after a rough 18, you know, just go throw a few darts on the par 3 course. They have a stocked pro shop full of great gear, and their restaurant, Wyatt's, is so good. What do we always say? Glizzies at the turn, baby. Gotta get the glizzies at the turn.
I'm not a golf guy, dude. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know what that means.
I think it's golf halftime hot dogs.
Correct.
For those
halftime dogs.
halftime dogs. I don't know golf.
Yeah.
I'm a halftime dog,
I like
so I don't
hot
got
dogs.
that first half in me.
Glizzies at the turn. You had us in the first half. They also have experienced teaching professionals with MetaGolf. Go to BrokenTeeGolf.com to make tee times and get the latest updates. You can use code DNVR10 for 10% off any round on the regulation course. That is pretty awesome. Shout out there. And while we're talking ads, let's do our own ad.
Do it.
You should become a diehard member with DNVR. All Colorado sports games are here at the DNVR bar. Come through. If you're a member, you get 15% off your entire bill at the bar. You also get discounts on tickets to our Broncos tailgates, our Buffs tailgates, our party buses from here to Ball Arena for Avs and Nuggets takeovers, out to the Richard for Rapids takeovers. You get a free shirt at sign up and every year at renewal. 20% off merch always, 20% off events. Already said all that. You get the diehard only Discord. Are you guys Discord guys?
I tried. I'm not.
It's tough for me.
I'm
scared.
I don't like messaging people. I like talking to people. I'm really bad at
You're an
responding.
in-person guy.
Yeah, I don't like. I'm really bad at responding. Horrible.
I like it. I like that there's a conversation on there for everybody, whether it's wrestling, baseball, football, soccer.
The concept is proven.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Just not
does a
for me,
great job. Hop in there and check it out. You get a physical diehard card. It says you are a card-carrying member of diehard Denver sports fans. You get premium content, diehard only bonus pod, which I didn't even know until I read this ad read, and that sounds sick. So definitely want to check that out. You also get discounts from select partners, including Illegal Pete's. You might be getting a free entree coming your way if you're a diehard member from our friends at Illegal Pete's, and a lot more to come. So check out that. I know we tell you at the end of every episode, become a diehard, but you really should. It's the best way to support local journalism like us, local podcasts, and just to be part of a community. You end up seeing regulars at all these, whether it's the Nuggets crew, the Avs crew, Broncos games. It's just people that want to show up and watch their favorite teams together. So make sure you get your membership and join up now.
And before we get to more questions, give us a thumbs up, please. It really helps out. I know Crookham would love a thumbs up right now.
Hit that like.
He was begging for 25 before the show, I think, is what he was telling
begging.
me. He like begging me, like,
Yeah.
give me the 25.
Please.
And also, remember, this is also an audio podcast, so we also are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so please go follow us there and give us a 5-star review.
5-star review. Anything less, you're out of here. All right, Brendan Plown, shout out. Thank you for putting in that question. Sorry it took so long to get to it. Our friend from the Denver Post. Make sure you read his stuff. Question for Brian. How closely do you think the 5 first-team head coach candidates are paying attention to this R2 postseason run? How much is the R2 component valued in this coaching search?
Well, that's a great question. And I will say that it is a part of what's going on, because it's an evaluation of what a first-team coach can expect in building the future of the roster.
Right, so what's in the pipeline?
So I think I don't think it'd be a stretch to say that there's a lot of attention being paid to what's happening right now in that group by candidates. I can't speak for those guys, and I'm not going to go into the search piece of it from here. It's a good try.
Almost got him. Thank you, Brendan. Good try.
Brendan was trying to do a great job of opening a can of worms for you to jump right into there, but it's certainly something that's valuable as they look at how this can progress for them in a roster build, and I'll leave it at that.
All right,
Brian, let's get into this coaching search.
Who are your top 5
You're not gonna believe this. It's already time to go. Wow.
all right.
We can go over. We're fine. We don't got to show 11.
Yeah. Sorry, I got to get my hair done.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Naturally. Duane, you kind of had
So related to the coaching search, but not in a super deep way.
Not in a mean way.
Not in a get Brian in trouble way.
Correct.
Not in a
Okay.
get Brian or
I knew what you
Kinsey
meant.
in trouble kind of way.
It was Kenzie's fault.
So
If she shuts off my mic, we'll know why.
yeah.
We broke her button, actually. So you just talk as fast as you
Gotcha.
can before she runs over. So you are one of the voices of the first team. We get to hear you cover the matches. You're obviously very familiar with how the season has gone, good and bad.
I've talked a lot about that over the last 32 games. Yes.
It's been tough. It's been tough.
Looking at some of those challenges and also some positive things to build upon in this coaching search, what do you think are some of the strongest qualities that they are looking for in a candidate?
Well, I think, and this will go back to, I'll just reference what Porg has said publicly, and that I think philosophically we want to be on the same page where we can build a group that is very good in what we feel like is the most important pieces of the game in MLS, and that's in transition. Our ability to be able to strike in transition, to be able to defend in transitional moments, which means that we have to be a team that's athletic. It's a team that is bold when we think about how we want to attack in the final third, and confident in there. I think we're going to need a head coach that can come in and manage the group and feel confident that there is a synchronized approach between what's going to happen on the field and what needs to happen from a recruitment standpoint. And I think that's probably what's going to help make a successful candidate there. And again, there's been a lot said publicly from Porg's side about it, and I'll let that stand because it's not lip service. It's literally what we talk about every day.
And kind of thinking about the same thing. Coach has been replaced. No longer here. I'm starting to think a lot of this first team is also very not replaceable, but they're on edge too, because after a season like this, nobody has a real secure job, right? Which players from Rapids 2 do you believe have the best chance to make that first team jump?
Can I guess what you're going to say? He's going to say all of them or none of them. He's not going to give us one.
You've talked to me before, haven't you? Look,
I'm going to keep asking until I get an answer.
Well, no, and that's fair enough. But what we have to do, if you think about this, and hopefully a new head coach will think about it this way as well, or I know a new head coach will think about it.
Kind of has to, right?
So what we're essentially doing is we're looking at this roster from the top of the first team all the way through the academy, and because those are all players that are
available,
that we have access to every single day. So then you start looking at decisions that need to be made at the first team level on retention of players or moving on from players, and the opportunity that comes with that, the pathways that are available to players. We may have talented guys. We do have talented guys that for one reason or another, we might not have a pathway for them to achieve what they need to achieve in the timeline that they need to achieve it for their careers. And they may be, we may be looking at different situations for them. So this is a really politically correct way of skirting your question and saying that we will evaluate that as the first team roster evolves. Then you kind of, move those pieces around to complement all the way around. What I will tell you, I am very confident in saying is that I think there are a handful of players in the second team that can be players that can have successful careers in MLS.
I agree with that.
I'm happy with that.
I agree with that for sure. Real quick, there's 17 people watching right now. Only 10 likes. Hit that thumbs up. Now, it's not just you and Porg and the Rapids front office looking at this team, especially with the success they've had. It's other teams in the MLS, maybe elsewhere. And when you're this successful, you're thinking guys might make the jump to a first team, to another first team. How prepared are you? And maybe this is jumping the gun because the playoffs aren't even over yet, but after a successful run like this, how prepared are you for just like a new R2 next season?
Poaching's going to start too.
Very. Look, to be honest with you, the second team is never going to be the top destination for any player or any staff member for that matter. So, part of my job is to ensure that we have a constant evaluation of how we're going to move forward. And so, once we get past what you would call a roster freeze timeline, we're thinking forward.
Right.
And when I say we, a lot of that's me, and
Sure.
I've been really careful. Eric and I are in constant conversation, but the bits and pieces that I'm feeding him are only relevant to what we have to get done right this second to ensure that we can be successful in the future. But it is not an area of focus for him right now. So, that becomes, from my chair, we're thinking about roster evolution. We're thinking about roster retention and roster, the movement that's going to happen in and out of that. You're right. We have interest. I'm getting calls on player. What are you doing with this guy? Is he going to be back? Is he, we've got a ton of interest at different levels, in both domestic and internationally on a lot of these guys. And so we are going to have to make smart, quick decisions when this ride comes to an end, which we know there's an expiration date on it. It's not going to go past the end of next week for sure. And so my job is to be thinking about that. Eric's job is to be thinking about training today on how we're going to get through that. But we certainly are thinking about the evolution of this. And I mentioned this is going to be cyclical because we are going to have a good group that will earn opportunities elsewhere, whether that be in our first team, whether that be outside of the club. Maybe it's just retention for those guys, but we're also going to have some turnover, and then you start the process again. So, we are going to be we will recycle kind of the state of the team. And so we're thinking about the future all the time, especially in this space, because this space is not a destination.
Yeah.
One of the words that I hear you say a lot when we talk about the roster and R2 is the word career, which I really appreciate, because it's not looking at one R2 player and say, how do we make this athlete a Rapids 1 player? You're looking at career, which could be anywhere, which I think is very respectful to these young athletes who are trying to further their career. Is that difficult to look at it that way, knowing that you're a Rapids guy, but you're also looking out for what's best for the athlete too? Is that ever a tough choice?
I don't think
hard to
so,
think about?
because our selfish motivation of getting the best out of every player and seeing if they can help us at the first team level is going to help them. So I think if we are really good at what we do and we maximize the potential of every individual, even if an individual whose potential is maximized for some reason, whether it be situational, whether it be just whatever, doesn't help us at the first team level moving forward, it will help them. It will give them the best possible opportunity in their careers. So I think, we can still be selfish in the way we want the outcome to go, knowing that it's going to be in the best interest of everybody. Because if you look at it in a really cold, simple way, it's an asset development piece of it. And for the individual, if you're a valuable asset, somebody else is going to want a piece of that as well. And so, you hate to go into kind of cold terminology on that, but I actually don't think that's hard to balance, because in the end, if we get the most out of everybody, the stuff that benefits us will still be there. The stuff that benefits them will go on forever. And by the way, I think we can look any prospect in the eyes and say, if we do the best thing for you, we'll get our piece of it. And by the way, you'll get your piece of it too.
Yeah.
So I think it just, we go to bed at night knowing we're doing the best thing we possibly can for everybody involved. And
and it doesn't come off cold terminology at all. I love when you say that. You're looking at the career of the player. I think that's awesome for both club and player.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's it's what we do.
So, talking about one player that you guys brought in and had a plan for him, Daniel Chacon, went out of Costa Rica, had a very unfortunate injury, which I thought he was going to make the first team next year and be a key piece. Where do you see him going in the future with his career? And kind of where do you think he's going to rehab, whether it's going to be in Colorado, back at home? Where do you guys see him?
Well, what I can tell you is that, and I won't discuss an individual player's medical type situation. I don't think that's fair or right. But what I will say is that we are very involved in the process to get him as healthy as he can possibly be to come back and be a big-time pro that will also be a big-time contributor to his country's national team, I think, as you look forward to 2026 and an expanded World Cup. And so, I think he's in very good hands. I think he's in a very good situation to achieve what he wants to achieve. And it's devastating because he is one of the greatest people out there. And he's had a really tough go. He had such a quick public rise because there's no such thing as overnight success, right?
No,
it's the grinding that happens over and over and over. But he had a quick rise in the public's eye when he was all of a sudden in the national team roster, beating the U.S., Mexico, then World Cup, and then injury, and then
tough.
Disappointment, and the things that go with it. So his roller coaster ride has been there. He's got a great support system, both, I think, for him as a human and for him as an athlete. And I'm pretty darn confident that you're going to see him come back into a situation where he's a long-term contributor to our sport.
Last question from the chat from our homie Matthew. Question for Brian: where do you want your MLS Next Pro Championship banner hung at DSGP?
In my office.
Love that. That's where I would want it too. It's not for everyone else. It's for you.
How
baby.
about in the locker room of the second team? Because in the end, those guys need to know when they walk in there, A, something's really achievable in that locker room, and B, there's a standard in that locker room that's already been set. And I hope they have to walk in there every day and touch it and say that. But we're still 90 minutes this weekend away from even having an opportunity to do that. So we'll think about that at training today about what we can do to be better tomorrow, better through the weekend, and be able to put our best foot forward against Austin, and then we'll worry about things like that later on. But the successes that the team has already achieved this year will be memorialized so that it sets a standard for the future.
It's great. Guys, R2 conference finals Sunday at DSGP.
Sunday.
am.ticketmaster.com/KSE/Rapids2.
Correct. That's the best way to get the ticket.
Get a ticket. Come hang out.
There's a really easy link you can click on too if you don't want to spell
Yeah.
all that out.
No, you have to type it out.
okay.
That's the only way.
All right.
Or it's in our YouTube link.
Or it's in the YouTube link. Go check it out. Anything else you'd want to direct people towards?
No, come see these guys on the weekend. I think they've earned the right to entertain people. I hope they
Play a great brand of footy.
I hope they have a big crowd supporting them, and I hope that people come out and see what the future of this club looks like.
Love that. Yeah. Plug us out of here.
DNVR_Rapids on Twitter. Please follow us there. Follow all the work we do. We really appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter. You can find us right there on our Twitter profiles. Give us a 5-star review wherever you hear this podcast, whether it be on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google. We're on all platforms. Give us a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate it. It really shows the higher ups that we're doing a good job and people really want to hear what we have to say.
Duane, anything else to add to that?
Follow Brian on Twitter. Brian, what's your Twitter handle?
I made it really hard. It's
I
at
know.
Brian Crookham. Yeah.
Boom.
How much did you have to pay for that?
How much do I have to pay for that?
How much did you have to pay for that handle?
Did someone already have it?
Oh, come on, man.
Did someone already have it?
No, they just
That's
gifted
awesome.
that to me.
They're like, hey, we
came-
got you.
Okay, that was-
Rapids legend Crookham. We got
Well,
to get to
They
it.
This
had
was
it
the-
on hold.
You got to
They were
remember,
waiting
I'm
for
so
you to
old
join.
that I was in the first thing of Twitter. Cause
Oh, yeah.
basically because somebody in media said you should probably do this, and why don't you use your name? That'd be good.
There you go.
So
Easy as that. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Get your Die Hard membership. Go to the R2 game on Sunday. Maybe go to one next Sunday too. We'll see. Got to go on Sunday to find out. Brian, thank you so much for joining us again. Hopefully we'll have you back soon. Maybe this offseason.
I'm around.
Let's go. All right, guys. You know how we end every single show, and it is up the pits.
We all silly like the mayor.